one thing that was a low point in diamonds was obviously the Commonwealth Games. I did my calf just before it. So I literally 2022.
Did you?
So I literally was flying, and I felt like the new coach had come in, Stacey Marinkovic had come in early, and about 20, I think she came in 2020. And I didn't really play early in her under her, but then I got an opportunity in it. I think it was 2021 quad series, and then 2022 quad series, and played well, and then kind of got that form in under her, and then I got picked to go to the Commonwealth Games, and I felt like, oh yeah, this is my moment. Like I'm firing. Like
you're back.
I'm back. Like she believes in me. Like she gave me the opportunity. Like yeah, and then I was playing really well, and then we had our last practice game before we were going to the village. And I was like, oh, my calf just like, I didn't feel anything go. I just felt like it felt tight. So I just came off and said to the physio, it feels tight. She's like, oh, we'll get it scanned or whatever. Anyway, that was like the hardest time because we had 3 reserves. So you had till like the Wednesday to say if Paige was in or out. And this is like Monday. And so like, oh, we need to get scanned, we get checked because we obviously need to make a call if you're going to go to the Commonwealth Games or if you're going to be ruled out. And I was like, oh, like, so it was just, and so you go into the village and everyone's running around berserk, you know, got the new bag, got this, did you see this? We're like, Paige, you know, you're going to scans. I missed out on all of that hurrah because they sent me off to a scan anyway. They said, oh, you've got kind of like a, you know, a bit of a strain, but like it's nothing really, like, you know, you should be good, but you could not be good because you're playing 7 games in 10 days. So like, you may not be okay. I was like, oh, I guess it's your call, like, you know, and so they gave me every second to try and get there. And it was so hard because, you know, like Jamie Lee was the reserve, and so she's obviously sitting there going, you know, like I could actually be going into a Commonwealth Games, and then I'm sitting there going, oh, I could be pulled out here at the last second. And yeah, I was doing all these tests and it was getting better, and they were like, yep, okay, we're going to give you a crack. And I was like, thank you. Like I just didn't know which way they were going to go. And anyway, so Stacey said, no, we believe that you're going in the right direction and stuff. So I missed the first game, and then I was on monitored load. So I played the second game and felt really good. And then in that third game, felt really great. The second quarter, felt really great. And it was about a few minutes to go, and I felt like someone had kicked me in the leg. And I was like,
that's the calf.
That's the calf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I turned around, like, you know, who kicked me? And then I was like, nah. Anyway, so I obviously hobbled off. And then I just knew that was going to be it. And we had spoken about that. That's the risk if I go out and play, that it could go. But I was willing to risk that to try and, you know, get through that tournament and try and be a part of it. And so whilst I was on this amazing journey of Com Games, I was also like fighting these obviously personal, like, how can I, like, I'm here, like, why did this happen? Like, why me? Like, playing really well, and then this calf, and I never really had calf issues. I never had calf issues, and then it literally just went bing, like. And I remember going to the change room at half time and going into the back room, and obviously the girls were talking, and physio's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, no, I'm going out there. Like, no, it's fine. Like, we're going out there. So I went out there and supported her, and she obviously knew, like, the physio was crying. She knew that obviously that was me done, and, you know, she'd obviously been trying to get me back and stuff. And yeah, it was really tough, but it was such a weird thing because all I wanted to do was, I think for me, I went into, okay, well, they cannot lose this gold medal because I would feel like it was my fault because I've just gone and got injured. They've risked putting me in there, and then they've gone and played 7 or 8 games, more load without me being there because at the time you can't swap people once this tournament starts. So that's it. Like they were playing. They're carrying without me. And I was like, oh, we cannot lose this because otherwise they would be like, oh, it's because they took Paige Hadley and she was injured and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I can't live with that. And so I was like, nah. I went to my room, had about half an hour of like sobbing to myself, and I was like, nah, that's it. And then so the other mid-quarters, all I was doing was like watching PA on like Jamaica and England and like giving like pointers. And on the bench I was just like so loud because all I could do was give my energy to there. I didn't have to worry about warming up or being ready just in case I was going on. I could just waste my energy on like being in the moment and stuff. And yeah, I was just like, whilst I was devastated personally, I didn't get to be out there playing in that whole tournament, and especially the gold medal match. But to be a massive part of it, and, you know, to have like Stacey, the coach, after go, like, I don't think we would have won that if it wasn't for you and how you put yourself, you know, put your issues aside and was there for the team. And I think the other middies could just play with freedom because I think, I don't know if you ever felt like, you know, when you're under the pressure of like performing and someone going to take your spot, like who's going to have the bib, like where they didn't have to worry about that. I was just there supporting them and stuff. And to win that gold medal was just the best feeling ever. And I think whilst I would have loved, obviously, the fairy tale to me to be on that court and be playing it, I think, it was just the most surreal thing to be a part of it, and obviously gone through that journey. And so whilst it was like the down, it was also the highest of highs.
It sounds like a full circle kind of thing, right? If you talk about your big injury to ACL when you're a young player, and just hearing you speak about it, it was about you and getting your knee right and getting back out there and getting taken by your parents to physio. You do your calf, and it's not as serious an ACL, but it sounds like maturity-wise, you're able to switch pretty quickly into not being about you. Yeah. And even though you were worried about the impact you'd have not being out there, the full circle moment is like the ability to go, right, it's not about me almost. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it was that point of like, I had that moment of like crying because, I guess it's something you dream of as a kid to go to Com Games. And
it's selfish to a point, right? Like
you're like, that's what I've dreamed of. And then you're like this close to it and it gets ripped from underneath you. But then I was like, nah, like I cannot have this team win silver and be like, oh, it's because they carried an injury player. Like the players were under fatigue. They were too loaded. The mid-quarters looked fatigued. They were tired. I was like, nah, like we have to win this. I was like doing everything I could to like, make sure they were ready to go. They were in form. They had their strategies down. Like, they were pumped. And so I just being able to watch that gold medal match and see them just like go, because we obviously lost to Jamaica in the rounds and then played them again in the grand final, and to see them just like push on and push on, I was just like, just stoked. And I remember I tried to run on the court at the end because they strapped my calf up because they were like, just in case you got to run after the end. And I went to run. I was like, I can't run. So I'm like hobbling. One girl's like carrying me. I was like, oh God. I was like, I thought it was going to be like the fairy tale moment when I get to run onto the pack. But I was like, I cannot run here. And I got one girl under me like pulling me along. I was like, oh God, it wasn't as pretty as what I thought it was going to be.